Negotiators believe Hamas and Israel are slowly making progress, saying a ceasefire and hostage release deal could be reached before the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. An Israeli and U.S. official tells the Wall Street Journal that Israel has agreed to the broad outlines of a deal that includes a 6-week truce. But officials say Hamas has yet to provide answers on two key sticking points: which Palestinian prisoners the group wants freed by Israel, and how many for each hostage released. Because of that, Israel has not yet sent a senior delegation to Cairo for the ongoing negotiations. Members of Hamas are there already. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is set to meet with a member of Israel's war cabinet today at the White House. This just one day after Harris called for an immediate ceasefire in the war in Gaza. She made the comments during the memorial events yesterday in Selma, Alabama, saying Israel must do more to protect the civilians there. It was her most forceful assessment of the conflict to date. Take a listen.
The conditions are inhumane, and our common humanity compels us to act. The Israeli government must do more to significantly increase the flow of aid. No excuses. They must open new border crossings. They must not impose any unnecessary restrictions on the delivery of aid. They must ensure humanitarian personnel, sites, and convoys are not targeted. And they must work to restore basic services and promote order in Gaza so more food, water, and fuel can reach those in need. I will repeat, the threat of Hamas poses to the people of Israel must be eliminated. And given the immense scale of suffering in Gaza, there must be an immediate ceasefire for at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table.
At the same time, the United States has made its first airdrops of humanitarian aid into Gaza. In a combined effort with the Royal Jordanian Air Force, the United States Air Force dropped over 38,000 meals on Saturday afternoon. The packages were stacked on pallets for central Gaza, where thousands of people are starving. U.S. officials say they are looking into new ways to send more aid into Gaza, including by sea. Joining us now, national security reporter for Politico, Alex Ward. He is the author of the new book titled The Internationalists: The Fight to Restore American Foreign Policy After Trump. It is on sale now and is terrific. Pick up a copy. Alex, good to see you this morning. Let's start with those airdrops. The fact that the United States has to do this, airdrop aid into Gaza, considering sending aid by sea, what does that say about the relationship that Washington has with Israel, that President Biden has with Prime Minister Netanyahu, where they couldn't just get Israel to facilitate the food coming in?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. This is a sign of American either weakness or ineffectiveness in this conflict. I mean, at this point, the administration has been very clear that they wanted Israel to open up basically all of the crossings, allow as much aid and truck convoys to get in. But at this point, even though they've pushed pretty hard, they've gotten a few open, but not enough. And so now you've got the U.S. airdropping in what is the most expensive and ineffective way to deliver aid, which, of course, the people in Gaza don't really care how it gets in. They need it and they want it. But it shows that as much as President Biden and his team have been pushing Bibi Netanyahu and his team to do more, they just won't. So now the U.S. is doing this pretty dramatic move in order to get as much as possible in at this point.
And what do we make of the call from the vice president yesterday for this immediate ceasefire and some pretty stern words for Israel and the conditions they've allowed to materialize there in Gaza? This feels like it's a continued part of the process of ratcheting up. What made the Biden White House go there now?
It's unclear. I mean, one aspect could be that the administration is finally fed up with, with Bibi Netanyahu and his team because they're unable to add more humanitarian assistance into the country, again, leading to the airdrops. It could also be that the uncommitted vote in the Michigan Democratic primary was so high, right, about 13%, 100,000 people or so. Maybe they finally felt that there's a political reckoning happening here that they actually need to address when it comes to what's happening in Gaza. But ultimately, I mean, you've heard the administration talk for a long time about the need for a pause and the deal that they're trying to work with Hamas and Israel, but they haven't really used ceasefire. So the fact that Vice President Harris used ceasefire, literally the word, and you heard the reaction to it. I mean, this is a massive boon to progressives, and especially those organizing for at least a significant pause to this war. It really signals a different stance in this administration, a stronger stance, and it previews or at least puts Vice President Harris on quite an interesting footing ahead of her meeting today with Benny Gantz, who's part of the war cabinet in Israel.
And Alex, lastly and briefly, what do U.S. officials tell you in terms of the likelihood of this deal, the ceasefire for hostages deal, getting done in time for Ramadan, just a week or so away?
It's looking better than it was, perhaps a little bit the end of last week, but no one is really overly confident. I mean, everyone's sort of skeptical. No deal is done until it's done. The issue seems to be Hamas here, who hasn't really been responding to the latest, the latest objectives. But I think if you would ask anyone privately, they say, yes, it's going to get done, but it might be down to the wire.
All right. National security reporter for Politico, Alex Ward, thank you as always. We will speak to you again soon.